Hey, good night, everybody, and welcome back. Welcome, one and all. If you're joining for the first time, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining to Smart, Fabulous, and Single. Well, not for long, in the name of Jesus. So, I am just going to wait a couple more persons to join. So, how are you doing? How was your day? How, well, I'm living in Jamaica. Lindsay to be exact, St. Catherine, Lindsay. And the days are really hot, extremely hot some of the times. But you know the great thing about God is even though the time is hot, we can go outside under a tree and we have some cool breeze blowing. It may not blow all the time, but you don't sweat as much because you're inside. But when you go outside, the time you get some cool wind out there. So in everything, we just have to give the Lord thanks because in some countries, the time is so hot, they cannot go outside no time at all. They have to stay indoors, and inside is very hot. So I just want to give God glory, give Him thanks, and give Him praise. So I just want to say welcome again, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight. Well, tonight I have a special guest with me, Dr. Jermaine Gordon. Yes. And our topic tonight is clean your mind, change your life. Hmm, clean your mind. I wonder if we treat our mind the way we treat our body. So Dr. Jermaine Gardner is going to explain how should we keep our minds clean so that we can change our lives. Dr. Jermaine Gordon, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much. And as we state our topic, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit more about who is Dr. Jermaine Gordon and what you're about. Please go ahead.
All right, welcome everybody. It's good to be here. It's fantastic to be here. I love Fridays. When I was growing up and in school, Friday was a very special day, and so that came over into my work life experience. I was trying to explain to someone today. I'm not sure if on a Friday it's dress up or dress down day, but whichever it is, I've always enjoyed Fridays and what it comes with, the weekend. And so I'm happy to be here another Friday. And thank you for having me here tonight, Lady Diane. It is a pleasure to be here to share with your folks all over, wherever you're tuning in from. I want you to just share this live because I want you to help change somebody's life forever. We're going to have a wonderful time talking, sharing, discussing, and just transforming minds. So I am one of I'm number 8 of 9 children for both parents. My parents are originally we're now in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And when you meet somebody and they said to you, "You're from Jamaica?" And you said, "Yes." And they said, "Where are you from?" And I start with my parents are originally from St. Anne. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you're the first Jamaican I'm meeting who is not saying you're from Kingston." So I am the eighth child of 9 for my parents. They're originally out of Lower Buxton in St. Anne. I was born in Kingston though, and I am the I am the fourth of 5 boys and of 5 male children, and I have 4 sisters. And so I grew up in a place called Bull Bay, 9 miles Bull Bay. And that time we never had all this internet and YouTube and all the fancy stuff that Lady Diana liked to do and you all young people like to do. We had to be creative. We had to sing in the yard. We had to make music. And so that's my origin in terms of writing songs, composing, playing instruments. I play 6 or 7 instruments. I write songs in 7 languages. I am a poet. I have written over 900 poems. I've never published any. I am a singer songwriter, gospel artist. I don't like to be called a gospel artist, but that's what they call it. So I use it. But I'm a singer songwriter. I have written over 1,300 songs. I've written a few hymns. I'm a modern day hymn writer. And so that's just a little about me. I've worked with choirs, children, youths, churches, school, cultural people, uh, uh, the government. I've directed music for over uh, 23 years for Jamaica, Grand Cayman, English and French Guyana through my church. Yeah, I've done quite a bit. Now that I'm talking to you, I realize I have taken on a journey a couple of years ago, about 10 years ago, after a little boy. I'm going to talk to you about that some more. What happened to Nicholas Francis, that 14-year-old JC boy, Lady Diana, that changed my life forever. And so that's a little bit about me.
Sir, that's not just a little bit, that's a whole lot. That's a lot because you have written books and hymns, and you're just what we would call in Jamaica all rounder. Yes, a jack of all trades. So you have a lot under your, as you would say, under your belt. And as I said before, thank you for joining. And if you are joining, if you just joined, thank you. Our topic for tonight is clean your mind, change your life. And I'd really like for you, Dr. Jermaine, to talk about how does one clean the mind in order to change one's life. Go ahead.
I want to lay a foundation for those who might be thinking, does the mind really need cleaning? This journey with Nicholas Francis started 10 years ago. He was entering a bus for the very first time in his life. He somehow the students at Jamaica College, somebody did something that they should not have, and so the teacher was not able to specifically pinpoint who had done what, and so the entire class was placed on detention. Nicholas being in that class, it was his first time getting detention. It was his first time taking the public transportation, and a robber approached him and demanded his cell phone. The child, being in that situation, refused, and the robber had a knife, so he stabbed him in the arm. He had a he slapped him across the cheek, and he wrestled with the child from the back of the bus to the very front. Then he went on to shoving the child off the moving bus. This happened while people stood, sat, did nothing. By the time the driver got wind of what was happening, picked him up off the street of Oak Road, it was too late. It was too late. I was told that there was not a dry eye in the ward that Nicholas went on when they heard the ordeal, the trauma, what the child went through. When I heard about it, it burst something inside of me. I was broken in so many pieces and so many places. I quit my professional accounting job for 23 years on the port of Kingston, working as a revenue accountant, receivables accountant, statistics accountant, and revenue assurance accountant. And yeah, those are all my titles. I know I got one pay, but I had about four titles. And so I sent in my resignation, and my manager was like, "Huh? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, this could have been my son. This could have been your son. This could have been one of us." I said, "Are we going to get up tomorrow morning and continue as if it's a normal day?" I said to her, "It's not. It's not. If we're calling this civilization, then something is wrong. If I can value your phone above your life, something is wrong. If I can have dreams and things I want to accomplish, but I went on to kneeling in your neck just to achieve it, then something is critically wrong." And so I quit my professional job without any backup plan as to how I was going to eat, how I was going to feed myself, my children. I think my eldest son at the time was 8, and no, he was about 6, 7, yeah. And the younger one is just born 2. He was 2 years old. And so I went on that journey to help clean up the minds of our people. It was this 39 prominent issues facing our people. So I realized it was not just crime and violence, it was anger, it was greed, it was jealousy, it was the fear of other people's success. It is, yeah, I like to call it that, the fear of other people's success, where they don't like to see you succeeding, and we do not know how to celebrate each other. And so I went down into the root of some of these things. How did it get into our culture and why we're like this? And in the end, I got a solution. And that's part of what I'll be talking about today when I talk about clean your mind and change your life forever or in 7 days. I'm actually writing a book called Clean Your Mind and Change Your Life in 7 days because people sometimes need that help, that push. And so the question now, Lady Diane, is how badly is the mind cluttered and perverted and corrupted and distracted and burdened and all that stuff. I came to Georgia, my family and I last year. We got into Georgia and I started what I call Stop by My Church Tour 2024. We were going into the churches. I was new, I was fresh into the place, I didn't know anybody. But in 2 months, the Lord had taken me to 32 services. 32 services. What did I do in these services? I basically shared music ministry and a short exhortation for 15 minutes. And then, that was it. And I remember one particular Sabbath, I went into this Seventh day Adventist in Lilburn. And that particular morning, the Sabbath school was being taught by the pastor himself. And so the message, the topic was forgiveness. Topic was forgiveness, and he was going into it. He was digging in, and there was a lady at the front, and she was wrestling with the topic. She wrestled. She asked a couple questions, and Pastor would answer, and she'd fire back. And after a while, you heard her. She exploded. She says, "Okay, fine. I will forgive you, but I will never forget what you did to me." Ah! There was a hush of silence. There were two couples on either side of the church also who were wrestling with it. One husband said, "My wife will bring up something as if it happened yesterday." And, and even though it's 15 years ago, and they were defending their point and stuff. I stood up in that time, Lady Diana, and I introduced myself, and I'm from Jamaica. And I've been working with children, youths, uh, for the past 10 years, working to prevent trauma and violence using what I call creative therapy. You know, the psychologists have their method, and there are so many other methods being used, but I was using what is called creative therapy through music and poetry and art and goal setting. And so when I quit my professional job, that's the journey I set out on to begin a transformation of the nation through creative therapy, I like to call it. And there's a little bit more to it, but let me just leave it at that. And so that particular day, I explained what it is that I did with all these children, and I introduced them to what I call the fist of forgiveness. If you want to try it with me, it's a fist of forgiveness, where I encourage people to make a fist and squeeze it. And I'll do this into the children's home and the schools that I travel to. And I said, make a fist, and they'll make a fist. And I said, is it squeezing you? And they said, no. I said, squeeze it a little more. And I said, is it squeezing you? And they said, yes. And then I said, squeeze it some more. And they squeezed it, and the children, very dramatic, they said, ah. And I said, yes, that is the pain of unforgiveness. And I said, keep it. And then I said, after three, we're all going to let it go. So this is principal, teachers, guidance counselors, parents, passers by, everybody's joining, and the hands raised. And I said, after three, we're going to let it go. One, two, three, let it go. And then they go like this, ah. And I say, that is the release you feel when you forgive. Because unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the next person to die. And so what I explained that, and then I said to the people that morning, I said, I'm going to ask you two questions. The first question, you are all going to look at me strange and weird. And then the second question, I am going to look at all of you here today, strange and weird. Of course, they leaned in. So I went on to asking the first question, Lady Diana. I said, is there anybody? I do not suppose there's anybody here at church today who would take your nasty, wet garbage trash from your kitchen, your rotten food, put it outside, place it outside in the garbage skid, and then 2 weeks, 14 days, go back, dig it up, and take it back inside the house. Of course, they looked at me strange. You can imagine. What a strange question from a strange man we've just met. And I said, I doubt that because it would rob you of the genius of your kitchen. And instead of spending time being creative in the kitchen, you would be freaking out that perhaps a maggot or two might be in the roof somewhere. And so, yes, you would not do that. So it's now my turn to look at all of you strange and weird, I said. And I said, whilst you will not do that, what I would call perhaps disgusting thing with your kitchen, let me ask you, why do you perform the same thing? You do the exact thing with your minds. Every time God blesses you with a brand new day, you take all that junk, all the stuff of yesterday, last week, last month, last year, 15 years ago, who betrayed you, who traumatized you, and this and all the toxic experiences you've had. Why do you take all this junk and bring that maggot infested mindset into the brand new day? Ha! You could hear a pin drop. Nobody even wanted to blink. The pastor, in response to what he just heard, like fire, he dropped the book. He dropped the Sabbath school book. And he said, the end of this lesson. What was I introducing them to? Mind hygiene. What was I introducing them to? Mind hygiene. We've been talking about body hygiene. We've been talking about oral hygiene. Well, Dr. Jermaine is here tonight, and I want to introduce your audience to what I call mind hygiene. Imagine if you ever had a toothache. I'm not sure if you've ever had a toothache and the excruciating pain that comes with a toothache. Can you imagine the pain we're suffering individually, as a group, as families, as communities, as churches, as government? How much we are undergoing because of a decaying mind. And so I wanted to just lay that foundation that the mind needs help in cleaning and clearing. And in the church, oftentimes we talk about coming to the altar and giving your heart to the Lord. When the truth is, many people went to the altar, but their minds were never present. There are people who are holding themselves back, hostage, because the mind is cluttered and distracted and burdened. And so everything else suffers. Your mind is the engine of your life, not just your body. Your mind is your engine of your entire life. Your mind is an interface between the spiritual realm and the physical realm. And by an interface, I mean what I'm using here tonight, I'm using an interface with this microphone. An interface allows me, an audio interface rather, because you have different types of interface. An audio interface allows me to connect this mic, the receiver, to something like this computer that is bringing it to you. And so it's an interface. It stands in between. So the mind is that interface between the physical realm and the spirit realm. And so the enemy likes to have a ball, an entire World Cup game with our minds, and so it's very important that we recognize that the mind needs help. Now, how do we go about cleaning it? Let's start here. We can start by this is where I encourage you to take a deep breath. Take a deep breath because you really want to bring more focus and purpose into your life. You want to bring clarity to some of the stuff that you're experiencing every day. And I've just touched on just one of the
Dr.
areas.
Jermaine, Dr. Jermaine,
Uh-huh.
before you go any further, what if there are persons watching or will they're watching now and saying, but how can I forgive him? How can I forgive her? How can I forgive them? They have hurt me so bad. From I was a child, I was abused, I was hurt, I was beaten, I was this, I was that. I was traumatized as a child. And how can I just let them go like that because they hurt me? And we in Jamaica we'd say it cut me deep. So why are you asking me to let go? And because they are the ones that hurt me, and you are saying I should let them go because I forgive them because they have hurt me. That is not fair. What would you say to a person like that?
Somehow in the equation, Lady Diana, we have been tricked. We have somehow been tricked into thinking that when I do not forgive the person, I am hurting them, or if I forgive them, I'm hurting myself. And so it makes more sense to hold on to it, because that way I will punish them. Absolutely not. If you hold on to unforgiveness, the person you're really punishing is yourself. And that
Or
is what
or they will think that everybody will think that I'm soft because they hurt me. So if I forgive them, they will look at me as being soft.
that's true. That's
That's
true.
what.
I've heard that situation before where people said, "How do you let it go so quickly? How comes?" I said, "What do you mean? You moved on too quickly." And so my neighbor Denise, I talk about her in my workbook for the mind hygiene. She was in and out the hospital very often, very sick. And she said, "How comes you've never prayed for me, sir?" I said, "How comes you've never asked me to pray for you?" She said, "Okay, fine. Will you pray for me?" And I said, "Okay, check me at 4 o'clock. We're going to do a prayer." When I stood there to pray for the sister, a scripture came to mind. I opened my Bible and I started reading it. And it started talking about the wicked and what the wicked keeps in their heart. So she said, "But look how I asked this man to pray for me and he's here reading about the wicked." I turned to her and I said, "Are you a wicked?" She said, "If I do not forgive people, am I wicked?" I said, "I'm not the one telling you that you are. The word that you study and read." She said, "But I didn't know that if you do not forgive somebody, the Bible consider you a wicked." I said, "Well, put it this way, that God actually says that if you do not let go of people's past trespasses and their debts, He, God, will never let go of yours." And so He's saying it's a deal for a deal. If you hold on to the junk, God is going to hold on to your junk. And she said, "Wow." I said, do you have anybody you need to forgive?" And she said, "Yes." I said, "One person?" She said, "No." I said, "Two?" She said, "No." I said, "Three?" She said, "No." Then I stopped asking. I said, "Is it more than five?" She said, "Yes." Then she paused and she said, 35 people. I said, 35, okay. So we're going to do a little exercise. So I sent her to pick up one stone, one rock per person. So she came back with 35 rocks. And we were going to throw one each into the gutter for each of the persons that she was about to release. By the time we got to number seven, and she would release them from whatever they did to her, and she would throw the rock into the gutter. I said, "I want you to throw it in the gutter, because the only way you're going to pick up back that thing for what the person did to you is if you're going to go back in the gutter and take it up." And she said, "No, I'm not going down there." I said, "Okay, good." So by the time we got to number seven, she said, "I can't even recall what some of these people did to me." And so you find that forgiveness, unforgiveness is a huge issue. It's a big matter. I'm in church. I was much younger, and the lady said, "I kid you not, it was at the end of the service, and at the end of the service, we're all greeting one another. We're happy to see." The lady said, the elderly lady, she said, "It has been 15 years since I talked with that one over there." And pushing her mouth up. We Jamaicans like to do that. Push her mouth over at the lady and say, "It's 15 years I don't talk to her." And then we expect the quality of our lives to be different. And so that is why cleaning your mind and changing your life is important. It's very integral to every person, the pastor, the preacher, the president, the prime minister. It is very important. The teacher, the police officer, the nurse, the bartender. It is very important that we all learn to clean the cluttered, burdened, distracted mind. I hope I responded to you, Kristen, well.
Yes, you did. You did, and you bonus as well. I really do think that also we need as parents, teachers, caregivers to teach children how to forgive, why they should forgive. Because when I was younger, when I was a child, my mother used to tell me, forgiveness is for the other person, not for you. Forgiveness is for you, not for the other person. I'm like, but that don't make no sense. Um, I need to forgive them. She said, yes, you need to forgive. Because when you have unforgiveness in your heart, one, it can make you sick. Two, you're not hurting the other person, you're hurting yourself. I was like, but they hurt me. I'm not hurting myself. She said, answer this question. When so and so did so and so, maybe weeks or so ago, you still remember it? You still think about it? I'm like, yes, it hurt me, so I did, yes. And she's like, the mere fact that you remember everything from beginning to end, what they did to you. Probably they thump you or you were in a fight or something, your brother take away something from you or something, whatever it is. When you forgive, your mind is set free. You release that person from your mind. Just like how you ask your neighbor to do a symbol of forgiveness by throwing the stones in the gutter to say, look here, when I throw them in the gutter, I do not dare go back into that muck, that koro to take it up back, to hold it dear to my heart. Like when we have a baby, we rub that baby down and we're putting the baby to sleep and, no. When she threw those stones, it's a symbol of her throwing it out of her mind also. She did a physical thing and she also did a spiritual thing just by throwing the stones and maybe calling the person's name. And at some point, she had the name, she had 35 persons. But guess what? She could not remember what all 35 did, but she knew it was 35. And that was really something for her to hold on to for so long. And even that lady in church, 15 years, you going into the same assembly. You meet and greet everybody else, but you don't meet and greet that the one over there. So, you know. And then we are saying we are serving the Lord. We can't serve God when we have up persons in our minds and in our heart, and we're going over it like a scratch record. We're just repeating what they did, repeating what they did, and that brings bitterness and trauma, and it doesn't allow us to move forward because we keep. It's like we're holding ourselves in a prison of what the person did, not understanding that we are hurting ourselves on top of the hurt that they hurt us. So I am really grateful that you use all of those to sum up to say, look here, unforgiveness can cause sickness, and you're hurting yourself, not the other person. So we need to just clear our minds so that we can. Can you give us other tips of how we can just clear our minds? Unforgiveness is forgiveness is one of them. But after when you forgive a person, it's like you remember what they did or you remember what they say, but it does not hurt. That's when my mother told me. That's when you know you truly forgive the person. Because you can think about it and maybe you're telling somebody said, so and so did this and it hurt me, But me not even remember. It doesn't hurt as much. It doesn't hurt anymore. So when we truly forgive, my mom used to say, when you truly forgive and you remember, it doesn't bring back that pain and trauma that you went through. So can you tell us other tips of how to clean our minds?
Well, I didn't start yet. That was still my
Oh, you
foundation.
haven't.
Because it's very practical, and you realize that about me in the ministry that I run through what is called Love Has Hands Foundation with the children, with the youths, teenagers across Jamaica. It's very practical, whether it's a visualization exercise or the fist of forgiveness, or it's very practical. And so these books, stuff seminars that I've written, they're very practical. It's not a lecture in any way. And so you want to ensure that you
Sorry,
become
sorry, Dr.
aware.
Jermaine. Sorry. Do you have a book, a seminar coming up?
I Yes, we have a seminar coming up by the same name. Clean your mind, change your life in 7 days.
When will that
That's it.
be? And where?
Well,
When and
we have not secured the date yet, but we're going to make it online so that we can bring in virtual audience of 100 people in the room. And it's going to be free. And what I'm hoping to do is complete the book by then so that I can offer a free copy, free download, an ebook to all the attendees. Yeah, so you want to make sure you stick around for the end of this program so you can find out how can you be in the room for such a great moment. I want to say that the weight we're carrying around weight, and before our feet even hit the floor, our minds can already feel that heaviness. It's true, in the mornings, so many people get out of bed very heavy with a packed agenda. Oh, am I late for work? And so it starts with how you begin your day, and it ends with how you end your day. It's very, like I said to you, it's very, very practical. And when you look at, I want you to imagine, for example, a room that is cluttered, a room that has not been cleaned in months. Say it's your bedroom, your kitchen, your living room area that has dust in every corner, and it has clothes left, right, center, tossed everywhere, dishes, spot. That, as I'm describing it to you, I remember my first trip to Grand Cayman, and my friend picked me up at the airport. He had a chicken wing by the door at the seat that I picked up when he picked me up. Just sharing this moment with you just reminded me of that. And then I said, "Man, you have a big chicken bone, leg bone here." And he says, "What? I had to chase a frog out of this car." I said, "What?" So I want you to think about a room that hasn't been cleaned in months, or a car, dust in the corners and trash everywhere. You don't even want to be in it. I'm telling you, I don't want to be in a room like that. It smells bad, it looks bad, and it feels bad. Now imagine that same room swept, organized, nicely arranged, the window is open and fresh air is flowing through. Same room, different feeling. And that is why I say to you, it's very practical. So you imagine that dirty, nasty, cluttered room, and how does it make you feel? Then also imagine a room that is well organized, clean, clear. So the truth is, the mind is exactly the same thing. That's your mind. And the piles we do not clean up, it just keep piling up. And so we have what we call a hidden pile up in our minds. A little burden here, a little unforgiveness there, a little jealousy here, a little envy, a little not wanting to celebrate you here, a little comparing myself to others. So you find that the clutter in the mind is a myriad of stuff, several stuff that has created that high clutter in the mind. And so one of the first things we bring people into an awareness of the weight they're carrying. You know the weight you're carrying. It affects you physically, it affects you emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Sometimes it affects you financially because now you're wasting resources because you are walking around with undue weight, unnecessary weight. And I like the term that whatever you mismanage, you will have to pay someone to manage it. So if you mismanage your health, you will have to pay somebody to manage your health for you. If you mismanage your money, you're going to have to pay someone to manage your money for you. If you mismanage uh, your relationships, you're going to have to pay somebody to manage that relationship for you. And so it's very important that we understand the weight we carry around and the kind of clutter that comes from the interactions, daily interaction. And so one of the first place to start is to learn to let things go daily. Ooh, and sometimes right throughout the day. Yes, what she said was offensive, but you have a greater purpose ahead. You need to get this meeting done, and the shareholders are waiting on you. You are gonna make sure you get that thing done, even though some people attitudes is just stink. You gotta just make up your mind that hey, not everybody's gonna be smiling like Dr. Jermaine and be kind and courteous to you. You got to understand that there are different people, there are different trees in the forest and in the garden, and some are like, let me not go there. Some will prick you. I know some are good to smell, some are good to look at, and it's the same thing with people. Some are going to be very harsh, some are going to be very soft and tender, and so it doesn't mean that God did not do a good job in creating the thistles. No. And so we too must also open our understanding. You have family members that are very difficult to deal with. You have friends and neighbors and coworkers that are very difficult to deal with. You know, you don't have to keep every thought that knocks on the door of your mind. Choose what comes in. Choose what. You don't have to keep every reaction. You know, you don't have to be so dedicated to your reaction that it must be always anger and brimstone and fire every time somebody step on your toe. You can send that away. And one teenager in one of our sessions, she said that she got to a place where she realized that she never need to own every thought that comes to her mind, because we believe that every thought that comes to our mind is ours. No, something you read yesterday on social media, something you heard on the radio today, you suddenly just attach it to your life and you attach yourself to it. And before you know it, it starts affecting the way you think, the way you feel, the way you behave, and your belief system. Where focus goes, energy flows, and the results show. So if you don't like the results you're getting, watch where you're sending your energy. And if you don't like where your energy is going, watch where you're sending your focus. Where focus goes, energy flows, and the results shows.
Could you say that again for the persons in the back that didn't get that? Could you say it again, please, for the persons in
Where,
the back?
wherever you're placing your focus, you are activating energy in that direction. Whatever it is, good, bad, or evil, or ugly. And so the focus is driving the energy behind it, and the energy is driving the results you're seeing, because you can search for bad things about anybody and find it. You will always find it. Because you put so much focus on it and so much energy on it, you are going to find it. If you recall in the book of Daniel, that Daniel was one of the four leaders that were appointed, and of all the projects those three guys could have taken on, they made Daniel their main project. And they said they're going to find a way to mess him up. They're going to find a way to get rid of him. He's praying 3 times a day. And what was his sin? He was praying 3 times a day. But these guys, these leaders, instead of spending time doing the work they were appointed to do, they sought how they might trap Daniel. And in so doing, they trap themselves. I'm saying to you, if you don't like where your life is going, watch where you're sending your energy. And if you want to shift where the energy is going, shift the focus, emotional focus, mental focus, and we teach this kind of stuff. How do you know your where your focus is going? Do an audit. So you do a thought audit or an emotional audit or a focus audit. What were the things you focused on today? I focused on paying my bills. I focused on this conversation with this person. And you do it for 7 days. And then you will be able to track, okay, how much time did I spend on social? How much focus did I give to my children? How much focus did I give to my spouse? Blah, blah, blah. How much focus did I give to my business? And you'll be able to see a time audit of what you did, how you did it, and how much time you spent on it.
Okay, so after doing that for a period of 7 days, then you can start writing, I mean, cross certain things off the list. won't be doing this tomorrow. I'm going to make it my appointed duty not to do this tomorrow, or So I like that. I think I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna try doing that for 7 days. Is it right?
Absolutely, for 7 days. Be
Right.
consistent. Yes.
Okay. You said you wrote a lot of books. Could you tell us about probably about the two last ones or so? How much books did you write, by the way?
Okay. So what happened now is I have been writing journals. I've spent most of my time writing journals to help youths, young people, to transform their lives. And I've done 4 volumes of journals that are currently on Amazon. Pour out in me. So the idea is that as you're pouring out into the pages of that journal, you are discovering yourself. You're rediscovering yourself. The
Dr.
Spirit of the Lord.
Jermaine, 1 minute.
Yes.
What, how, I'm a dance teacher. I'm a Sunday
Uh huh.
school teacher at church. How do I get the young people to journal? Because some of them will think that, um, do I need to write down everything that I'm thinking? Do I need to write down everything that I'm doing? How do you get young people to journal and not think of it as old school, so to speak?
Well, it's easier to get them to journal if they're going through pain. It's always easier to get people to pay attention where pain is inflicted. Not that it will always work, but it's easier for them to pay attention because your pain means pray about it now. And I talk about that in the first journal. PAIN, pray about it now. Your pain is saying that something is happening that you must pay attention to. And so until you get to the point of journaling and praying about the pain, you have not yet started paying attention to what is happening. In fact, I would be bold enough to say, having done this for close to 20 something years in terms of teaching journaling, your best life is on the other side of your journaling, whether it is a written journal, a video journal, journal. There are various types of journal. Over the years, I've taught how to keep a written journal if you want to write words. I've talked about doodling if you like to doodle, or art journaling. We've looked at video journaling. If you like to turn a camera on, like TikTok allows you to do some level of journaling, or any one of these platforms that you can just go live or record a video. It's a form of journaling. You turn the camera on yourself and you start journaling. Or if you prefer not to be seen and you don't want to write, you think that your handwriting is not as nice as Lady Diana's, then you can say, okay, open an audio recording on your phone, your device, and begin to record. So those are various forms of journaling. It has not been easy for us to get it into Jamaica, and people usually get you know perked up the first couple of days because we're giving them these journals and we're teaching them and they're excited. But the consistency is really what gives you the result, a life changing result. You'd be surprised how much of your genius is being you're not paying attention to your genius self because you do not journal. You do not keep a journal consistently. And so for me, I have a gift of teaching music and new songs. And so I don't have a challenge teaching people how to journal. But I know I've had over the years, people say to me, I have several challenges, including how do I stay consistent? Or somebody might say, what about the likely possibility of someone, getting into my private journal and reading my stuff. And so we've had to give tips on how to protect the precious stuff that you don't want to really share with anyone else, but it's very important that you write it out. And so, yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you for that. And these are some of in putting this together, I've made a list of what I call the top 10 weights we all carry. Number one, I'm not sure if I have them in the order of priority, but I've made a list. Here are the usual suspects that fill our mental backpacks. They're always on our back. One, stress and overwhelm. Tell yourself, listen to me, somebody listening. Tell yourself, as of tomorrow, I don't do overwhelm. So when they call you, when they're doing this, you say, listen, I don't do overwhelm. Or, listen, I don't do stress. Just say it. Say it out loud. Yeah. Don't say, I'm stressed out. No, no. Say, listen, I don't do stress. I leave those things alone. So stress and overwhelm. Number two, anxiety and fear. Anxiety and fear. I had a therapist here in Georgia. She said, sir, I want to find out what's your secret what's your morning routine secret? Because I find that when I get up in the mornings, I am bombarded with anxiety. I said to her, what I do in the mornings is going to make you perhaps laugh. She says, what is it? I said, the first thing I do in the mornings is not go for my phone. It's not pray. Come on now, watch me. The first thing I do in the morning when my eyes are open, because here's what happening. You are moving from what is called full uh, sleep to what I now call wakefulness. There's a window of 17 seconds because I wanted to find out, does the mind really take a vacation from thinking? Is it possible to take a break from thinking, for especially for those whose minds are going at 1,000 miles per hour? Is there ever a vacation, a mind vacation? You can take a vacation from thinking. And I discovered that there's a 17-second window between waking up, wakefulness, and sleep, complete sleep, that you now come into consciousness and say, well, where am I? Oh, do I have a meeting today? What day is it? What time is it? That little window, too many people flood that short 17 seconds with so many things. And that's where the anxiety and the fear comes in. And so I said to her, my 17 seconds of wakefulness is filled with this. I smile at heaven. So I teach my boys to wake up with a smile, not a frown, not anxiety, not fear, not a list of things to do and get done and jump out of bed. Oh, the traffic. No, why do we do that? Jolt ourselves out of the bed and an alarm clock. Boom. No, I ask the angel of the Lord to wake me if I need to get up at a specific time. Otherwise, I work with my body clock. And so I wake up with a smile and a smile at heaven. Very important. Number three, negative self talk. This is one of the 10 top weights that we carry on. Negative self talk. Why can't you speak better of yourself? Go before the mirror and speak better things to yourself. And the reason why you can't speak better things about others is because you speak the same kind of stuff to yourself. And if you want to find a partner and you're thinking, oh, I need a wife, I need a husband, but you speak so poorly of yourself, what do you think is going to happen when you find that person? Oh, wait a minute. You think you're just going to change overnight like that? You can, but it's very unlikely. Negative self talk. And then number four, procrastination. That thing you said you are going to do, that you're going to do, that you are going to do. Do it. Do it. And one of the easiest ways to fight procrastination is to, to finish what you started. Finish, go into the refrigerator and you'd see a whole lot of stuff that you've started and not finished. Start by cleaning out the refrigerator and say, okay, as of today, I'm going to finish what I've started. I'm going to be a person of my word, a man of my word, a woman of my word. What I say, I'm going to stick to it. Procrastination. And when you said earlier, Lady Diana, that we should teach children to forgive, that's a big point. That's a huge point because in going around the entire island of Jamaica, I, and I'm teaching them forgiveness. I'm telling them about the prodigal son story and that they must forgive. And I would say, what is forgiveness? And these little kids would say to me, forgiveness is when you forgive your parents. And I said, oh, that's good. Yes. Okay. All right. And I go to another one and I say, forgiveness is when you forgive your parents. And I go to Portland and I hear that. And I go to Montego Bay and I hear that. And I go down into St. Catherine, rural St. Catherine, and I hear the children say the exact same thing. So after 2 years, I said, God, what is this that the children are saying? Forgiveness is when you forgive your parents. And you know what the Lord said? He said, broken promises. Broken promises. We promised the child something, and you said, I'm going to do this for you. And the child has a fantastic memory, the memory of an elephant. And that child says, Daddy or Mommy, remember you promised me that you're going to do so and so. And without even thinking, we shut the child down, we shame them, we embarrass them. We said, Don't ask me for anything. I don't have any money. Go and sit down. Go to your bed. And before you know it, that child is carrying that hurt, that pain. I had to counsel with the 27-year-old man, grown man, who said, I hated my mother from I was 8 years old. The clutter, the stuff we harbor in our mind, and the fact that our society just keep just hurting us, and we keep hurting one another. The truth is, we have been so focused on the behavior, we have not spent much time looking at the wounds the behaviors have created. Oh,
You know, Dr. Jermaine, you said something a while ago, and I was teaching Sunday school, and I don't remember the topic that I was teaching, and I said to I said to the children, you know, a lot of times, mommy and daddy, we were talking about same promises, broken promises, and I said to them, what? I asked a question. What have your parents promised you and you didn't get it? One person said bicycle, next one said cake, and they have these things coming. And I said to them, I was telling them about forgiveness as well, and I said you can't, why you didn't, why mommy or daddy didn't give you that. One of the reasons why could be is that they're adults. They have a lot of bills to pay sometimes. They have you to send to school. They have to, do this and spend money and that for the home and take care of you and take care of themselves and all of that. So if mommy or daddy promise you something, do and you don't get it and they don't give it to you, do not be upset with mommy or daddy because they have expenses. But saying that to say, parents, we really need to tell our children if we promise them something, we need to explain the reason why we have not fall through on our promises. Because an 8-year-old child will remember that once you promise them something in a man, once you promise a child something, their imagination starts to run wild. I am going to get a new bicycle and I'm going to ride up and down and I'm going to have so much fun with my bicycle. And that child imagination starts to just run and that or a toy or whatever it may be, and we don't follow through on our promises. We really need to, instead of running the child saying me not have no money and me can't bother, explain to the child why is it you did not follow through on the bicycle or whatever it is for their birthdays. You know, a lot of times, especially girls, children overall look forward to their birthdays. And if you as us as parents, don't follow through on our promises, they are going to be brokenhearted. And we forget about it. But the child don't. The child hold on to that. And they go. And some of the time they think that mommy don't love me because she didn't give me so and so on my birthday. But Dr. Jermaine, I can tell you, children, they watch what you do more than they listen to what you say. I've learned that. And then
oh
the
yeah.
children tend to think that um you don't love them because how comes you find money to do this or to do that? That's a conversation we were having in Sunday school. Then how mommy find money to pay for the internet or to pay for this or to pay for that and she didn't buy me my birthday gift. We need to explain to the children why we break their little hearts by not following through on our promises.
So now
So
you see,
as we need to fix that.
now you see, Lady Diana, why that child, that little 8-year-old girl, when she gets to 26, she's already heartbroken in so many places and so many pieces. And for the person who's going to say, well, that is why I don't make promises, that is not the answer either. God is a promise keeping God. He makes promises for the simple reason that he he's going to give you a word. He's going to watch to see how you do and how you grow from that promise, and the reward will be your faithfulness. And it's the same thing. We must be faithful promise keepers, faithful promise keepers, because we're made in the likeness and image of God, and it's important that we make promises. It's also important that we keep those promises. So that's a good point, and we've always been making that kind of. We have these what we call empowering conversations. So the music, all of what we've been doing in Jamaica, we call it empowering conversations. It's just that my style is a little unique. Not a little unique, I was told by the Ministry of Education, but it's it's much different from what they've seen and experienced. But just in case someone is watching and they say, "But Doc forgot to give us the rest of the stuff." Well, number four was procrastination. Number five is regret and past pain, for those who are making notes. And number six is lack of focus. A lack of focus. Number seven, comparison. We're back in the comparison game again. Number eight, unforgiveness. So you see where unforgiveness is. Way down there. So we have a whole lot of stuff before we get to unforgiveness. As big as unforgiveness is. Number
Could,
nine,
could you go back to number 6, please? I'm
number
writing
six,
them down.
lack of focus. Number six was lack of focus. Yeah. Number seven, comparison. Number eight, unforgiveness. Number nine, this is also a big one. Much COVID really just highlighted it. It was always there. Sleep struggles. Sleep struggles. People having issues sleeping at night, twisting and turning in their beds. And then watch this, number 10. I'm not saying this is the least. I'm not saying it's the greatest. Money worries. Money worries relating to finances. So as number one, stress and overwhelm. Number two, anxiety and fear. Number three, negative self-talk. Number four, procrastination. Number five, regret and past pain. Number six, lack of focus. Number seven, comparison. Number eight, unforgiveness. Number nine, sleep struggles. And number 10, money worries. So you want to make sure in managing your life and governing self-governance, because that's what the Christian life is about. How well can you govern yourself? How well can you govern your own mind? How well can you govern your own body, your own thought, your own emotions? You want to ensure that you look out for these 10 imposters, these 10 suspects, and make sure you don't have them anywhere in your house, in your room, nowhere. Throw them out.
Dr. Jermaine, negative thinking. How, what's your thoughts? How did it even come about? The negative thinking. I know it's a lie from the enemy because having a negative thought, maybe to somebody else. All right, negative thoughts about ourselves. We can't fulfill our purpose then. I think it's really a lie to say, because the word of God said we can do great things because he has placed greatness within us. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. And if the word of God said we can do all things, that means we're limiting our own selves. Where do you think the negative thought comes from in the first place? Does it happen as a child, as a baby, adulthood? Where? And negative, how do we control our negative thoughts?
Well, here's what I want everybody to understand. Everything you see, everything you can touch, everything you can feel, everything that exists around you begins with words. Word is the beginning of all things. Everything you can see, everything you can feel, everything you can touch started with word. Now, you are not just blood and flesh and organs, you are an embodiment of words. Words formed you, words created you. And so, whatever it takes to make something, you are going to require that to fix it. So whatever it took to make the car, you are going to need that some aspect of that to fix or repair the car. And so negative self thought or talk or negative thinking did not just start there. It came about because of somebody's words, and that is why we dubbed the program "Empowering Conversations" because it is words that have brought us to where we are, and it is words that we're going to use to correct it. So somebody's thinking poorly of themselves because of what they heard, whether through a song, through a friend, through a neighbor, through a family member. Somebody says you are as good for nothing like your, and so that stays in your mind. You will never come out to anything good. The mother in St. Thomas says, my 11-year-old boy is crosses. If you don't understand what that means in Jamaican language, it means that he's bad, he's evil. My 11-year-old boy is crosses, and we're in the parents empowerment session. And she said it 2 times, and I didn't respond until she said it the third time. She said, my 11-year-old boy is crosses. And she made up her face. And I said, I paused, I swallowed, and I said, Mom, instead of saying what you see, why not try saying what you want to see? So, for example, Johnny came home with a pencil that does not belong to him. Instead of saying, Johnny, you little thieving boy, you care about the people and pencil, you say, Johnny, because you're an honest child. You and daddy are going to go to school tomorrow, and we're going to find out who does this belong to, and we're going to return it because you're an honest boy. It's time we speak what we want to see and not just continue to perpetuate what we're seeing by the words we continue to say.
That's true. And I've said it like a million times here. Even teachers, be careful. Caregivers, aunties, uncles, cousins, be careful of how you speak to a child, especially when you're upset, because children, they don't always get it right. They're children and they're learning and they're growing, and they watch what you do more than how they listen and pay attention to what you say. Not that children don't pay attention to what you say, no, but they tend to gravitate to what you do more. And if you, as an adult, a teacher, whatever, tell a child, you know your classes, you know say your head just tough or you're not gonna learn nothing. No wonder why and you keep those are negative, those are seeds of doubt, fear, and death also. Because you are killing something that is growing. A child is vibrant and adventurous. And if you limit that child to say you cannot and you will not become, that child loves you, that child looks up to you. So they're going to believe you. And that those words will take them into adulthood. And when they're choosing their career, they're supposed to choose their career, they're supposed to get married, they're supposed to, you know, live out their purpose. They will remember so and so told me that I couldn't do so and so when I was younger. So I'm not even going to bother try. Because if they love me and they care about me, if they told me these things, then that means it's true. Because children normally believe that adults will always know what is right. Some of the times we don't. We don't always get it right as an adult, as a parent. And if we continue to tell a child, you will never become, that child will hold on to it and they tell themselves that I will never become. And so I will not even bother to try. And so they hold themselves back, they hold themselves down because of what you said before, words spoken, negative words. And we really need to stop doing things like that. because even though you say it in anger, some of the time go back to the child and say, I was really upset when I said that, and I'm sorry. We tend to think that because we're adults, we can't say sorry to our children. Really? We can, and we should. How is it that we want our children to apologize to us when they do something wrong? We can man up, as we say in Jamaica, and say, I'm sorry. I shouted at you, and I shouldn't have, because of you are being stressed out. We take it out on our children. So let us continue to speak words of love to children, positiveness to them. Let them know that, look here, man, you can do anything you put your mind to. Mommy, I want to do this when I grow up. Yes, you can do it. Just remember to work hard at it. Don't tell the child, say, sure, that bigger than you, that too big for you. No, tell the child that, yes, you can do it. But remember to work hard at it no matter what. Allow that child to think that they are good at everything that they put their minds to. And you can do it. Motivate them. Just like when a baby does something, we say, yay! Motivate even teenagers as well. Because they still need that. Even though they may think that, oh, I'm growing now, so I'm almost an adult, so I know what to do and I know what they don't. They still need the love. They still need the support. So we all need to just, you know, plant seed of greatness in our children. Love, no negative thoughts. And as you said before, money worries. Dr. Jermaine, that one is hard, That one is very hard because money worries, Dr. Jermaine. How does one not worry? I know, because we're children of God, but how? How we don't worry? Money worries. How?
It's easy, if you can find someone who has overcome or is championing what you're struggling with, it's always better to learn from that person. So if you know somebody who doesn't worry about money, or someone who have a good grasp of managing their money, budgeting, earning enough, spending properly, because these are things we teach. These are five things we teach, the five main uses of money in our program. We say spend, save, invest, give, and receive. You don't need to worry about money. You should never worry about money. But why? Not everybody can get to that place by a big leap. Some person is gonna have to hold their hands. And for me, it has been a journey. It has been a journey because accounting is my background, and I know finances. It helps me to plan ahead. What is my expenses going to be like? Uh, and so one of the best ways to predict your future is to plan it. And so many of our money worries would not exist if we plan more and if we live within our means. And somebody said live below your means. But the key thing to money is to give money the right attitude. Money is not what I would call it. Money is not what we think it is. There is a spirit to money. And I like to, in my teachings, I say to people, name your money. Give your money a name and a title. Always, if you're gonna get $50,000 at the end of the month, and you say, "Boy, I wasn't anticipating this $50,000." If you don't name it, it's going to name itself. All of a sudden, you're gonna realize that, oops, the car needs new tire or something broke in the house, and before you know it, your 50,000 is just gone. But if you say this $50,000 is towards a deposit for my first house, or it is a deposit for my college tuition, or name it, name it. That's what planning, budgeting does. It helps you to name your money. If you don't name it, remember I said, everything you see, everything you can touch, it's as a result of words. And so if someone else is calling the money something, you are going to live by that. Another principle I teach people is to change your attitude towards money. Why is it that you like to receive money? It makes you feel good. Everybody likes to receive money, right? Online, yeah. But why is it that when you're supposed to give money or spend money or pay your bill, your attitude is so ugly? If you have to pay Digicel or the other company or the JPS, why is it that it's such a burden to you? If God blessed you or had someone bless you with that money, why are you not seeing it that when you pay your utility bills on time or send this money for school tuition, you're actually helping them to pay families and other families being fed and being clothed because you bless them. And so begin to change your attitude. Tomorrow, when you go to the market, if you're going to the market tomorrow, the Coronation Market that I go, I bless my money that I'm about to give to the sellers. In fact, I remember one Saturday morning I went there, and a lady saw me and she said, "Sir, come over here, no, come over here and touch some of my stuff." No, I said, "I'm not looking to buy anything." She says, "I know, I don't need you to buy anything. I just need you to touch my stuff because I see like a man like you. When you touch stuff, things happen. Come and touch my stuff." And the lady insisted that I had to just come over and touch her stuff because she realized that the blessing flows in a particular direction and dimension. It's important. It's important that our attitudes be right towards money, and then we won't need to worry about it.
Wow, wow. Times time really flies. I'm gonna ask you to just touch on comparison. A lot of times, I'm guilty of that. I tend to compare myself with others, and I don't do it as much as I was younger, but I'm growing to how do you help somebody else, help someone watching and will watch to not compare yourself with others? What are the steps to take? Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the questions I've been asked as an artist over the years is if I compete with some of my fellow artists. I said no. They said you never compete with another. I said no. They said what do you do? I say I create. So you don't need to compete. You need to create. You don't need to compare. You need to create and grow. What do I mean by that? If you're keeping a journal, and that is one of the reasons why we're so big on journaling, because we said in any good sport, in every good sport, whether it's cricket, football, netball, basketball, they keep score. Why do they keep a score? Because they want to be able to determine the winner. If you're not keeping score of your life through journaling, how then do you determine whether you're winning? You know you're winning because you write this down, and this was something you were struggling with last year, but this year you've conquered it, you've mastered it. If you don't become more meticulous and diligent and consistent at recording your life, you could find that you are defeated today by an enemy you destroyed yesterday. And so comparing the whole matter of comparison, comparing one to the other, we like to do that. We like to compare our singers. We like to compare our athletes. No, we don't do that. We like to compare. This one is better than. No, 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 no. They are all God's fine, beautiful creation. What you need to do is to growth. Measure growth. Every good thing in life measure the growth, whether it's a company, a school. Everybody wants to ensure that they are growing. They're not just moving their legs, but they're actually growing. And so you want them. Comparison doesn't help you to grow when you compare yourself to others like that. Unless it's a case where you're saying this is how they solve it, this is how I'm going to solve it, because now you're learning from that encounter that okay, they use this particular method and we're going to use, unless it's a case like that. But if it's the real negative, I don't want to call it negative, if it's that destroying comparison where you tear yourself down or you tear someone else down, no, it's something we should all become conscious of, and in some ways it's in the back of our minds.
Okay, wow, wow. Time really flies. So, Dr. Jermaine, I'm going to ask you to pray for our viewers who are watching and will watch, to for the Lord to just help us, help everyone to just clear our minds so that we can grow and stop holding back ourselves, so we can stop having a messed up, cluttered space and just clean it so that the Holy Spirit can just come and dwell there with us. Could you pray for us, please?
As I pray, I want you to tell yourself that your mind is not a storage unit for every thought. It's the workshop of your destiny. Your mind is not a storage unit for every thought. Rather, it's the workshop of your destiny. Today, as I pray for you, I also want you to say with me that I intentionally release what does not serve me and mean me any good. Today, I intentionally release what does not serve me and mean me any good. Lord, sweep out the clutter and replace this with your peace and that which means me good. And now I embrace cleaner, clearer mind, the new me. So, Lord, I thank you. I praise you that you are able to do this exceedingly, abundantly above all that we could ever ask or imagine. And so the imagination needs cleansing. The desires needs cleansing. The energy and the focus needs cleansing. The the way we go about doing things needs help, cleansing. The way we speak to ourselves needs cleansing and cleaning. The way we speak to others needs cleansing and healing. And so, Lord, so much of what we encounter is because of what is happening internally. So much of our external experiences are because of what is happening within. And so, you, Jesus, you had to say to the disciples, it's not because you eat meat, want meat and you don't eat meat why you are unclean. But it is not what goes inside of a man that defiles him, but what comes out of his mouth. And so we need to fix what is coming out of our mouth through the minds of God. And so cleanse the mouth today, cleanse the mind, cleanse the thought, and give us a better future, a brighter future by by causing us to speak words of life, words of love, words of peace, words of forgiveness, words of clarity, words of joy. Ah, so many people are longing to feel that peace. Speak peace over your life tonight. We speak peace over your home. Put on some worship music after this live and begin to speak peace over your room and your city and your environment and your street. Peace upon your children, peace upon your spouse, peace upon your future, and peace upon that which you desire to see happen. I speak the divine peace over you because the scripture says that God will trade your mind for peace. He says, if you are willing to give me your mind, keep your mind stayed on me, I, God, will reward you by keeping you in perfect peace. And so, Lord, keep somebody in perfect peace tonight as they take this journey to shift the mind, to clean the mind for a better life. I thank you for this program. I thank you for everyone who will join later on and listen and be blessed by it and be transformed. We thank you now. Have your way. In the precious name, amen, of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So, thank you all for joining, and I will see you again next week for another great, great topic. Dr. Jermaine, I just want to say thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for your powerful, impactful nuggets, and I just pray that we will take away from what you have said to us tonight and we will just not only hear them, but we will do them also. Speaking peace over our mind, over our children, and our surroundings. So I pray that the Lord will continue to bless you. I pray that the Lord will cover you. And I speak the peace of God over you and your family, your household. May the Lord just open doors for you always and give you rest, give you peace. Blessings, Pastor Jermaine. Thank you so, so
I,
much.
I must also mention, because you had asked me how can persons joining when we do the seminar, they can go to the website Mind Hygiene, MIND, mindhygiene.net / landing page. So that's mindhygiene.net / landing page. LANDING page PAGE. When you go there, it will say how you can join and be kept in the loop. God bless you too. Thank you for having me.
Blessings. So remember to just join, go on and as he said, just click on those buttons and just make yourselves be known. And also remember, everyone, to wake up in the morning with a smile. Wake up in the that's one of the things I'm going to start doing as of tomorrow morning. Wake up with a smile and say thank you, Lord, for another wonderful day. Declare over your day that is going to be wonderful. So, Pastor, thank you so much. Minister Jermaine, thank you so much. Blessings, everybody, and we'll see you again next week. Bye, everybody. Take care. Blessings.